hello, honey. Hi, how are you?
Hi, how you doing? I love your
Okay.
intro.
Well, thank you. I have a new one coming out soon whenever I get my latest product out. I'm just not ready. I think we talked about that
Yes,
at some point, but
I'm going to
I'm
be your
excited.
guinea pig.
Yes, yes, I'm gonna have several guinea pigs. So, hello, Shavaka. How are you, honey?
Good evening.
Yes, good evening. She's actually on your side, up in Canada. So. It's a nice intro all the same. Thank you, honey. Yes. 2212. Oh, that must be I call it military time.
Okay.
I don't know what else you call that kind of time.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah. So, before we begin, let's go ahead and clear our energies. I'm going to use the meditation singing bowl and then take 3 deep cleansing breaths and we'll get started. All right. So, my dear,
Yeah.
what
How's
can you
your
tell
week
us? My week, it's been crazy. I've been extra busy and working on new projects, and I feel like I don't have time or don't have enough time to sleep. I've been very fatigued all week. And I'm really glad that we have like spring break. Spring break is here for the kids, and so I actually get time to sleep, or hopefully I get to sleep in, but
been?
How about you? How was your week?
Yeah, it's good. It's not it's good. It's good.
Okay, well
It's,
that's okay.
I'm trying to think really. It's an interesting mix of things going on. I've been trying to kind of put something together that would help people with the next few weeks. April is a very cosmic jambalaya of energy.
Mhm. I'm
Um,
already feeling that, and based off of my channeled messages for the month for the zodiacs, um, it's like okay, kind of like understanding where someone is at in their life, and it's time to just like do the work, right? Um, like kind of clear out the clutter, so to speak, taking accountability,
mm,
things like that. I don't know astrologically what that if there's any correlation
there
with what I've
is.
been channeling, but that's what I've seen. And so, I was thinking it's April, it's Aries season, hooray, like new energies, but it's different. It's not like that spring, like spring is in the air and there's love all around us. It's not like that. It's
Right.
like it's different. So I hope that you could you know,
Shed some light.
yes, please help us.
Give it a astrological language signature, right?
Okay, yes.
Yes. We might not understand it, but at least it gives an explanation for things that can't be explained.
Mhm,
So you've
mhm.
already had the new moon on the West Coast. It was last night, like at quarter
Mhm.
to midnight. And then on the East Coast, it was like 3 in the morning. So
Okay.
we're waning from the new moon in Aries at 11 degrees. It is making aspect with Mars and Saturn. So this is an interesting. Mars is the accelerator pedal, and Saturn is the brake pedal. So
Yeah, so it's like a stop and start energy. It's like you want to go, but you're like, pumping your brakes, like, do I really want it? And yeah, it's like mixed messages. Very
Yeah,
interesting. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah. I actually said that to someone this week about mixed messages. Um,
Mm,
so we have Aries is ruled by Mars. So we have the new moon in Aries ruled by Mars, with the planet Mars still making um, aspects to Uranus and Venus, and that sort of mixture that we had a lot of in March. And it's not quite past us yet,
mm,
but Mars is fire, impulsive. I think the most obvious display that we could look at was the absurd demonstration of the Oscars where somebody gets up out of the audience and walks up on the stage, and I can't talk tonight, stage and smacks somebody. That's a very Mars aspect.
yeah, Will Smith smacked Chris Rock in the face because he was cracking jokes on his wife, and she her head is shaved, and she does have a health condition. She has alopecia, and
Do you
so
believe that that was organic or staged?
I feel it was organic.
Well, another part of this month is that historic Jupiter Neptune conjunction that we've all been anticipating for quite some time. It is waxing right now. It's in the sign of Pisces. And that that's why this month is going to be very interesting, I think, because uh, Neptune, and you have to remember that we have like 5 planets in the sign of Pisces right now, and Neptune's at home in Pisces. So
Mhm.
all of that's even more intense. And Pisces is the rose colored lenses, it's illusion, it can be self delusion. So, navigating what is real and what is illusion is going to be an opportunity for all of us to tune in to our own intuition, which
Mhm.
Aries is the first sign of the natural zodiac.
Mhm.
And um, typically it rules children. Um, if you know people with strong Aries energy, they age very youthfully.
Mhm.
Um, they never really grow up. They can be extremely impulsive.
Mhm.
It's symbolized by the ram, so they can kind of ram things through without thinking and being very impulsive. Um, and so you've got this very aggressive kind of energy about. But then Saturn, who is Father Time, brings restriction and tells us, be patient, soul. Again, we have more of what you had just said about being accountable.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
also about being responsible and learning our lessons. Saturn is all about um, if you believe your soul is here to learn a certain set of lessons, Saturn is who teaches those lessons to us. We
Mhm.
get many opportunities to learn the same lessons over and over. So we're in this like cosmic jambalaya, is what I'm calling it. You've got all kinds of stacked up energy in Pisces, which is a shift in consciousness.
Mhm.
So, a lot of what's been happening this week, and everyone will respond to it a little differently, is if you have a habit of spiritual practices, so you meditate or do yoga, or you're interested in your stones and healing and herbs, and when you've had a lifestyle of some sort of spirituality, this energy gives that sort of a rocket boost. You may experience more astral travel types of sensations. I've
Yeah,
had,
you were talking about dreams
oh
this
my
week.
God, my dreams have been off the rails.
I've been dreaming every chance I close my eyes, and I'm like, did I just dream? Like, I just.
Very active. Another really interesting thing that we're on sort of a precipice of a new age, really, in society, is about deep space discoveries. So, I think it was around the 30s, around between the 19 teens and to 30s when we discovered Pluto. That was a big deal. Um, and we're in that sort of energy where more objects and stars and discoveries beyond Neptune and Pluto will be made.
Mhm.
So, and one of those, there's a few of those that sort of play into this energy with the new moon. One of them is, you can call it an asteroid. Um, it's an object. It's been named Salacia, Salacia,
Mhm.
Salacia. I'm not sure which way. We've got to be careful about judgment in this energy. So you find something new out there in space. You start seeing astrologers and scientists talk about new discoveries, but it's a new discovery. So we really can't judge what it is. But initially, the mythology of Salacia is she was a saltwater mermaid, and she represented the sparkle on the ocean. So Neptune fell in love with her. And Neptune, is the god at the bottom of the sea that guards the gates to all the secret mysteries of the universe. Um, Somewhat of a not a warm and fuzzy type of energy, right? And he has his Titan, and it was by him striking the earth that he brought forth the ocean. So, very uh, powerful kind of energy. It rules the subconscious mind, and he fell in love with her. And Salacia is not a flirty type of mermaid at all. She was quite spiritual, very serious minded, and did not take him seriously. Um,
Mhm.
did not believe that he had any real good intentions for her. So she
Mhm.
went to another part of the universe in her oceans. And the
Mhm.
story goes that Neptune sent a dolphin to talk to her, which we know dolphins are a representative of communication. And there's actually
Mhm.
been science about intelligence of dolphins and our ability to interact with them. So the dolphin goes to speak to her to say, no, he really is very serious about you. He wants to marry you. And so she gave in and marries Neptune, and they had a daughter named Octavia, and that's another story. But I wanted to bring up um, that whole sort of illusionary, or we have all this Pisces energy that's very romantic. It can be very seductive. That's what Neptune does. He seduces us into the bottom of the ocean to search our soul, to search our subconscious, and there we will find our fears. We'll find the things we deny. It can be uncomfortable, and that's why
Mhm.
Pisces energies gets the bad rap of being heavy drinking people, because rather than be spiritual and do the work like you were talking about, it's come time to do the work. um,
Mhm.
Drugs, psychedelics, alcohol, those are all genres ruled by Pisces. So and Neptune. So Salacia brings to the connection to this Aries new moon this deep honoring of ourself and integrity. Um, she was the sparkle on the top of the ocean water, right? So this is the love of life. It's a very positive, uplifting energy, and a lot of what these energies are going to be triggering for us is the light side and the dark side, and bringing the shadow within ourselves to the light. And that is different for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
um, I think the more willing you are to surrender to whatever it is that you're feeling, if you feel like something sucks, or you just aren't in a good space in your life, the more you deny that, the more you put off its ultimate healing, because we're
Mm-hmm.
in the energies of bringing our core wounds to the forefront to deal with. And
Right.
right. So that's the journey. And so when you were talking about, did I have good stuff for us today? It's serious stuff. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's making the choice of, are you good where you are and you don't need to do any, you know, shadow work, or you're good with your core wounds staying buried, you're good, and that's okay. I mean, we all have different gauges of how much we're willing to suffer, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
because doing the work is a certain degree of suffering, sacrificing. We've been through a couple of years of um, this Pluto Saturn energy being like in solitary confinement. There
Mm-hmm.
is a whole mental health and psychology to spending time alone, or being the hermit, which is that Saturn type of energy. And
I just channeled that. I think it was for Aquarius.
yeah, yeah,
They actually got out of the energy of a third party, and instead of going back towards, let's say, the twin, that person needed alone time. And it's not like that they didn't love the person. It's just like when you break up with someone or let go of a situation, you just need to just,
have some space.
yeah, have space, really work on yourself, work on your health.
So
Just
that's Saturn saying, have you learned your lesson?
right.
We are given the opportunity to, um, so Saturn in the birth chart, we follow what's called Saturn returns.
Mhm.
So Saturn takes 28 years, 28 to 30 years to transit your chart. So at the age of 28 or 30, you go through your first Saturn return, and it's considered a time of maturity. You clean out closets, you clean out friendships.
I got a divorce
I got a divorce too, yeah. It's that is one thing that I've seen pretty regular in.
at 28 years old.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the Saturn return in the first one between the age of 28 and 30,
So if it's
it's
28, what's the next time? Was that 50
around
something?
54, 55. So I've had my second Saturn return. So I'm here to say I survived it. Now, the concept is that the universe will set the stage in your life for your second Saturn return. The faces and the names will be different, but the lessons will be the same. And the
Mhm.
idea of your second Saturn return is, did you learn your lessons?
Mhm.
Um,
Well, at that age, I hope so, like
and then I actually had an astrology teacher and friend, Edie Custer. I've mentioned her before. She published the Mercury Hour, and she was like 84. She had her third Saturn return.
oh,
So,
wow.
yeah. So, that's the concept of Saturn is, have you learned your lessons? It's a very restrictive energy. It can represent bankruptcy and financial issues. So uh, and it's also kind of connects to that Salasia's integrity point,
Mhm.
being honest with ourselves. You have to be honest with yourself before you can be honest with your life and people that you are involved with. And
Mhm.
that can be challenging because sometimes we don't want to face what is a truth. We don't want to admit our weaknesses or admit that, um, we made the wrong choices. Or I don't know how you feel about your marriage, but I really should have never married that guy. And
Well, I would my thing was is that I feel like I was Mother Teresa and I thought I could change him because
right,
I had that love, right? But it
right.
wasn't like I don't know, it was weird. It's like I felt like I was a fixer, you know? Like I
Oh
could
yeah,
fix
yeah.
this one,
I
you know?
I felt that too, and I don't know. I've always said it was karma. It's something that just had to be done because
Mhm.
it doesn't make any rational sense that, you know, given what we had been through dating and stuff, that I should have ever made that commitment. But it just happened and it didn't work.
Mhm,
And,
mhm.
the divorce came with bankruptcy and all of the purging and
Well,
negativity.
the positive thing with me is that we were about buy a house, and it was a good thing that we didn't.
The positive thing that came out of mine was I started a business that I I probably never would have done had I stayed with him. And it was successful for 20 years or so. And I'm grateful for that experience. But that's kind of how this journey is, that you purge and go through some really challenging times to get to the other side. And that's what I mean about shadow work and bringing the dark to the light. And this
Mhm.
energies that we're in between everything piling up in Pisces, the Jupiter Neptune conjunction. Um, Now, Jupiter changes signs every 12 to 13 years. So, Jupiter, you know, this is not a huge uh, historic thing so much, but it has been like 160 some years since it was in Pisces. So, um, the most historic thing that was recorded, and I don't want to belabor it because I know we've gone over Jupiter Neptune quite a bit leading up to it, but it was major floods. But think about this. So, we have a lot of water energy and um, going on right now. And so water is our emotions.
Mhm.
And so this is a very emotional time. And one of the old Hopi Indian folklores is that when you die, your water, because we're basically made up of 80% water,
Mhm.
goes to the Father Heaven and ultimately recycles to rain down on Earth to replenish nature. So there's
Mhm.
that whole concept of the Plutonian regeneration and rebirth. So a lot of different cultures describe this energy different ways, but I
Mhm.
think one of the easiest ways to understand it, and it kind of touches a little bit on sort of the quantum physics concept of energy. So, unique to our world is ether. Ether is a physical element, the ethereal is invisible.
Mhm.
So, we're in these times where there's like this physicality, but there's also a metaphysical energy going on that gives us this out of this world fantasy,
Mhm.
right? So Pisces and Neptune is fantastical. Uh, you're seeing more and more of the technology, with gaming and um, experiencing 3D activities by putting goggles on.
Mhm.
So that's a very Neptune and Pisces. Um, Mars is also the god of agriculture. So this whole like focus on science in agricultural advancements. And here's, a slippery slope and a little bit where we get going to the dark side. And I was thinking about this before coming on about how there's a real dark side to this energy. And I don't want to sit here and be like Pollyanna, like, oh, this is just all about new beginnings and spirituality. And there's a real dark side. And I am going to touch on it because I think I would be doing a disservice if I didn't.
Oh yeah, let's go deep.
Yeah, we're going to go dark for a few minutes. But so for agricultural machinery, there's been a lot of scientific evolution, and it's considered to be going through like an age of progress. Well, the thing that happens there is it replaces human labor, right?
Oh
So,
yeah.
right. So then you have people. It it damages that human individuality,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what happens when too many humans are not creative or working?
Mm-hmm.
There's a higher crime rate. There's more protests. There's more suicide. There's more depression, more mental illness. So there's this fine line between artificial intelligence taking work from humans.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of a humanitarian battle we're in right now. And when we talk about all these Pluto um, cycles that we're experiencing through COVID, and um, it will change signs next year. And I'll touch on that because that's a really amazing age we're heading into when Pluto goes into Aquarius. Is so we have to think about our value system. Pluto is all about society's values. So, what have we been going through? We're going through a dismantling of everything. Anything traditional is getting kind of turned around and upside down. And, right now, trending seems to be a lot of the, you know, transgender men competing in women's sports, and a lot of debate. I turn on the radio to go to work today to get the traffic report, and they're discussing the debate on um, you know parents and transgender children. And that's very Pluto, Mars energy right there.
Mm-hmm.
You're bringing in sexuality, which is Mars. You're bringing in evaluating uh, traditional values, which is Pluto. And that's going to keep going. I mean, we're not backing down from these cycles anytime soon. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the isolation that society's been through has made people sit in their mind a little more to think about
Mm-hmm.
what they want, what they feel, and just, deep thought, really. So, um, an interesting, another part of this that for me helps the heaviness, because this can be pretty heavy stuff. War, Mars is war, blood, aggression, um, compulsive behavior, arguments, you know, is you look at that science discovery part and the spirituality, and you get into things like the DNA of light. And that studies have been shown about the protons of light that radiate from our heart
Mm-hmm.
and our consciousness. So, if you believe that consciousness is the electromagnetic field that surrounds our body, and
Mm-hmm.
we are discovering other galaxies, We are launching satellites in our atmosphere that affect the radio waves that we're being influenced by on the surface of the earth. You really can't deny that there is an effect there, and we're trying to all navigate. How are we feeling about it? Do you have more headaches? Aries is all about
Well,
the
I know that in the past week, I've been feeling really fatigued.
mm-hmm,
Now, it was addressed to me that we had a couple different solar flares that happened, and that could have been a
big
part of the
ones.
reason.
Yeah,
Yeah, big
big
ones that
ones. Yeah,
was near miss,
right.
but I
And
think
the
that
Schumann, the same thing, the Schumann resonance.
mhm,
Well, these proton waves that come from the heart, um, there's actually what's called liquid light, and it's a
mhm,
type of plasma.
mhm,
And so we can go into the dark side of how a lot of this science and discoveries have been hidden from our society in general, sort of like kept for the elite. And um, historically, back in the United States, former presidents like Woodrow Wilson had something to do with starting that whole hidden kind of society and keeping medical information, and just like the Tesla and all of his work that could have been helping all of us, and feasibly society wouldn't have to have suffered a lot. That And I think of cancer. I mean, I think I've had a pretty cynical opinion about cancer for many years. My loved ones have died from it. I
mhm.
believe that they do know how to cure it, but it would be some kind of economic boon. And I know that's horrendous to say, but it's just like a system. It's just like
I
an
just
economic
wonder,
system,
like, why is money obviously, we know money is the root of all evil,
right?
so everything is pointing back to evil or the
The
dark.
shadow and the dark.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
and
so that's what's interesting, Mix, about these energies is um, I personally want to see the dark and the shadows come to light. I
mhm,
don't fear it. I think what we should be afraid of is, the walking dead, and going through life not feeling, or feeling anesthetized, or in some sort of dream state or denial that everything's okay. Not
right.
Things are not okay.
Mhm, mhm.
And, I get frustrated by, how people will blow me off like, oh, you're crazy. That's da 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 da. And I'm like, no, well, I'm very upset about all of this stuff we've believed. And one thing I'm going to go into here in connection to this new moon is so you've heard of the Black Moon Lilith, and there's a
Mhm,
lot of folklore about a character named Lilith.
mhm.
She's very dark. She was considered demon. So let's turn that upside down on its head for a minute. Because I think that as we get through 2022, 2023, more and more of the stories that we have believed in tradition and history, other narratives are coming forward. So, the traditional myth about Lilith is that she was the female headed snake that made Eve eat the apple in the Garden of Eden. Um, there is a theory out there that the story of how man and woman was created may not be the story that we've Christianity is believed anyway. And
Mhm.
so she was always depicted like a naked woman wrapped in a snake. And so right now she's at 11 degrees of the sign of Cancer, which is squaring this 11 degrees Aries moon.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to bring out the dark side in all of us. That square puts pressure on us to get the thorn out. You know, if you have a poisoned thorn and the things that you've tried to do, like drinking or drugging, to not feel that thorn, at some point stop working. And you've got to pull the thorn out. To pull the thorn out, you have to, and just like you had said, do the work. You
Mm-hmm.
have to take a serious evaluation of the choices you've made, where you are, where you want to be. And it's Saturn will make you grow up. It's a growing pain. And
Mm-hmm.
um, so squaring Cancer, it could be mother issues. It could be, you know, childhood home abuse. Cancer is all about the home and the mother. So this Black Moon Lilith squaring that may make, you know, and that's a really, I'll share this. I can't believe I'm going to share this, but it brings the point home. If you knew me well, you would know that I've always put my mother on a pedestal. Thought she was the greatest thing ever, right? I just
Mm-hmm.
thought she was the greatest mom. We were the best of friends, love her to death. And that's true. However, she had her generational karma and problems too,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, especially because we're talking about Cancer and the mother, we're talking about feminine energy.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, we all have feminine and masculine within us. So, you know, if in your household growing up, whoever was the more dominant one is what this is going to trigger. You know, some people had a more dominant father. So Saturn represents the father. So we have both energies represented here, the mother
Mm-hmm.
and the father. Um, that's really hard to admit to something, a story you've believed, something that you've held dear that has given you a sense of security, and to just turn that upside down on its head and turn it all around and decide that, well, that, you know, whatever those behavior patterns were not healthy at all. And that
Mm-hmm.
was an illusion. That was a delusion, Neptune. And so those are the kinds of things I mean about shadow work, facing difficult realities, um, you know, things like thinking, you know, I always thought my brothers loved me, were, you know, protective. I was the youngest and only girl, and only to come find out, really, they resented me being born, you know? So that delusion of how people were in your early life, in your home and childhood, um, difficult stuff. And it is easier to deny it. It is easier to just sweep that under the rug. I don't want to deal with that. That hurts. You know, that makes me cry or get depressed or whatever. That's the work. That's what these energies ask you to do, is spend the time uh, in isolation or this solitary confinement we've been going through, and, you know, face your fears. You know,
Mm-hmm.
what's the storyline in your life that if it got turned upside down, you know, you would fear it. And
Mm-hmm.
so that Lilith Black Moon is what brings out our shadow side. And one of the storylines that I'm feeling prepared to change on is her myth, and her mythology is, bad, dark person. Well, if we are all a mixture of dark and light, then how do we deny a whole part of ourselves or the dark part of ourselves? And these energies are asking us to look at that, and don't automatically decide, that's bad or be judgmental. All of this sort of deconstruction of our society's value systems and definitions have a lot to do with we need to move away from any kind of judgment. And that's
Mm-hmm.
really hard to do because it's almost in our DNA to make
Right.
judgments every day.
Mm-hmm.
You make a judgment about what time you're going to go to the store. You make a judgment about putting your foot on the brake to stop at a light. It's almost autopilot sometimes that you're making one judgment after another. I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
go to that restaurant. I don't want to, I don't. And so to really try to be more free, and Aries is all about wanting to be free and fiery and impulsive and um, act now, think about it later kind of energy, uh, you know, it can be a roller coaster. And so it rules the head and sinus. And you were talking about headaches. I don't have any here. I'm taking some lavender oil and just, rubbing lavender oil in your temples can really help with those headaches during these times. If you're in an area where the pollen's starting to come out and the sinuses are bothering
Mm-hmm.
you, horseradish root is a really, you can either buy horseradish, or if you grow horseradish, if you just take a big snout full of horseradish, it'll clear your sinuses right up. And
Hmm.
one of the other things that's really great for sinus problems is the neti pot. It looks like a little teapot and it irrigates your sinuses. And I had a pharmacist tell me a long time ago, he does that just like brushing his teeth every day. And it keeps your sinuses cleared out from environmental dust and things that can irritate those passageways. So we are going through a time of mind blowing and head aching types of mixtures of energy.
Mm-hmm.
And here's a brain twister. So about Lilith, what if what if we don't incarnate to live a particular life path, but we incarnate because the soul has a desire to be set free? And that's the kind of concept, like we've always felt one way in spirituality about reincarnation. Astrology, um, that's been one of its controversies in studying it, is because it believes in reincarnation. So if you have any religious issues with reincarnation, you're not going to believe in astrology.
Mm-hmm.
So there's been a trend in the astrological community. This is another thing that's really hard for me to even hear myself say,
Okay.
that you can change your chart. You can decide at some point in your life that chart wasn't working for you. You come up with your own chart that you want to manifest. Well, in my, fixed old ways of learning and studying astrology, and it has been 50 years that I have studied astrology, it's always been about you determine your chart coming into this life path. And it's not like it's a free will as to whether or not you do that chart. But the
Mm-hmm.
concept of, I don't like this chart. I'm 60 years old now. I'm going to change my chart. My
Mm-hmm.
chart's not working for me anymore. It's kind of the whole thing about, I don't like what sex I am. I'm going to change what sex I am.
Mm-hmm.
These things are all being deconstructed. And so all the traditional ideas and judgments and beliefs that we've had are getting turned on their head. And
Hmm.
so, if you have a lot of fixed energy in your chart, which I do, that's hard. That's hard stuff. I don't want traditions to change, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
like old folklore and I like old traditions, but this Neptune Jupiter conjunction, the Saturn Pluto conjunction, the square to Black Moon Lilith, and then as we get further into the month, the pile up in the sign of Pisces itself, I almost envision it as your electromagnetic energy that surrounds your body is just part of the ethers, and pulling that into this dense structure of bones and muscle and blood vessels takes a conscious effort. And staying in the body, connected to the 3D reality, becomes harder because there's a lot of really horrible crap here. Child sex trafficking, bioweapons, corruption, right?
Right.
And so trying to find where you can reconcile um, your beliefs, I think, is number one. I think that's why this energy of isolation and um, kind of being forced to be more alone, and wear a mask, hide, and, you know, society's been forced to look inside to figure out, what do you believe? What do you think's happening? Where do you think humanity's going? Where do you want to see it go? Is it George Orwell's 1984? Is it
I
Nirvana?
think that this is where we do like timeline shifting or jumping
Yeah,
timelines and
yeah,
the whole nostalgia or the kind of like the dreamy like nature
right.
of Pisces or Neptune or whatnot. And if you want to go, you can go, and
Yeah,
to each his own. If you
yeah,
believe it, you can
yeah.
achieve it.
Well, there is also sort of this theory of, as we get into the 2020s, like, you'll be walking around and you'll see other species. I mean, other species from other star systems are already here. They've already
Mhm.
integrated with our society. But now we're going to start seeing more about UFOs and seeing more. There was this strangest, I don't I don't know how to I don't know how to bring it up, but there was the strangest thing I saw with one of these international meeting things where all these different countries come together, and the person representing the United States, I swear to God, it was like something from the Planet of the Apes.
Girl, honey, show me that. I want to see.
I'll send you that. It was the strangest thing. It was. This is what I
Uh-huh.
mean. Like, things are turned upside down on their head, and maybe things we thought were fantasy are not, are not.
Mhm.
And how do we feel about that? What do you want to fight for? This new moon with Aries and Mars conjunction is, what is, what is worth fighting for in your life? you're going to figure it out. You're going to want to be very clear on, I want this, I don't want that, I'll fight for that, or, really basic kind of explanation of that energy is, um, I'm struggling at a new job to learn a new computer program. And mainly is I don't want to focus to figure it out. I'm not interested in it. Well, I need to figure it out, right?
Right.
And so it's the whole, focusing, um, even if it's something you don't want to, um, it's worth fighting for. It's like there's other elements of the position that are worth fighting for.
Right.
So so that's a very simplistic explanation, but uh, yeah. So a lot of strange things going on. We're in the late degrees of Pluto now at 28 degrees, and anytime a planet gets in the late degrees like that, it gets more intense. And so I've kind of been feeling like we're all experiencing some kind of like Pluto and Capricorn burnout. Like people on the streets and walking around just seem real, um, they don't really have any animation. They're, not really greeting people, or, everybody looks so somber, or, they're just looking down at their phone, or, to say hi to somebody, or, have a laugh with somebody in a store waiting in a line over something. It's almost like, like we've all
I
been
think
so
we've been
isolated for a while, and now we're trying to
right
come out and figure
reacquaint
out how to
ourselves.
socialize again.
I was just like today, when I was going around shopping before the live, I overheard two ladies having a conversation, and one of the ladies, and she was older, like she had like maybe a young mama, but not young, like. But she was like, "Yeah, I'm not partying anymore," and I'm like, "The fuck? Like you're not partying anymore, but you have babies and stuff, like."
Yeah.
Where are your priorities? And we just came out of COVID. So were we having COVID parties? Like
Right.
I don't understand, and it was just the strangest conversation that I overheard. And yeah. I mean, and here I am, I'm being judgmental over,
Oh,
this lady having a
we do it all the
conversation.
time. And you were talking about a few times ago about the being chipped parties over in Switzerland. Was it
Yeah,
Switzerland or
it's
something?
like, yeah, it's like
Yeah. So
it's
that's
the thing.
another social value system. And how do you feel about it?
Mhm.
There are really positive, healthy, traditional values. And something is going on in our society to pull everything apart to see what will come back together or not. And I think that history teaches us a lot. And if you look at history, we are in some really difficult times, obviously. And it's up to each individual. Aries is the self, right?
Mhm.
It can be kind of selfish energy. Um, it's the child, and children are what? Children are about me.
Me.
Yeah, yeah,
Me, me.
yeah. So we're going to see some of that with this energy this month. And to a certain degree, if you can temper that and sort of just discern what are you reflecting inwardly about to get down to your intuition,
Mhm.
to figure out, you know, if you have a hard time with a traditional story or piece of history that we've always thought was one way, and it appears to be dismantled, really the only way we can figure that out is by getting quiet with ourselves and figuring that out.
Mhm.
What does your first voice tell you when you hear, um, it's funny you brought up Mother Teresa. Let me get outrageous here for a minute.
Yeah.
So, there's a theory that
Mhm.
Mother Teresa was a man
Mhm.
and helped the Pope traffic children.
Mhm.
The people who believe that, the rationale is because a woman would never do to the children what's been done.
Mhm.
And then another really crazy of that little thread is that he is Anthony Fauci's father.
No.
Look at
That
it.
was a plot twist right there.
I'm, I'm telling you, we're being asked to reanalyze stories that we believed one way. And, I keep wanting to be drawn to this, and I'm getting a little ahead, but it brings home that thing about history and cycles. So we're in the late degrees of Pluto. We're
Mhm.
burnout. Between March of 2023 and November of 2024, with the retrograde energy, we're going to be waffling between Capricorn and Aquarius. It's not until
Mhm.
after November 2024 that Pluto is firmly in Aquarius, and in our lifetimes we won't see it again back
Okay.
in Capricorn. So let me just tell you some of the things that happened the last time that Pluto was in Aquarius was 1798. And when I tell you some of these things, it's real weird how energies seem to have cycles.
Okay.
The most significant thing was the Naturalization Act of 1798 in the United States, was where immigration laws were changed to where you had to be here 14 years instead of 5 years before you could become a citizen. It gets better. The Pope was removed from power.
Wow. W- Wow.
There was a coup d'etat of the government in the Netherlands.
Mhm.
Napoleon occupied Cairo.
Hmm.
I mean, these are just really, there was an Irish rebellion in 1798. I love this one. Eli Whitney, he had something to do with inventing guns, muskets, and he contracted with the US government to build 10,000 muskets that had interchangeable parts. So that was like a big invention of uh, a big invention at the time.
So you mean to tell me that we're going into hard times?
Changed times. I wouldn't
Okay, I
say,
mean, but still, it's like we're still kind of like digressing, not really progressing,
have
you
we
know?
learned our lessons?
Well, I
Because
would
a lot
hope
of
so.
this,
Like, come on, let's get our lives in order.
so a lot of these, when you look at the trend, have to do with who owns land. And that's always the controversy
All
in.
right, everybody that's listening, better buy your land.
This was when 1798 is when I didn't know. I mean, a lot of this I didn't know. The Mississippi Territory was organized out of taking parts of Georgia and South Carolina.
Huh.
So it's a rearrangement of boundaries and ownership,
Mm.
which that is happening in Eastern Europe. And the Battle of the Nile. And let's see, the U.S. Department of Navy was established as an actual cabinet department of the government.
Hmm.
There was something reestablished about the Marine Corps. So Mars is the god of war, right? And
Hmm.
that's what I mean about, you know, I'd love to just come on here and say, oh, we're in this spiritual awakening and a great shift of mankind and consciousness, and we're all going to sing kumbaya and hold hands and love each other. Oh, okay. Well, there's got to be the balance to that. Yes, you know, in
Yeah,
Buddhism,
within
we strive
yourself.
for nirvana, right? You meditate to connect to collective consciousness, to feel outside of that negative, aggressive, dark energy.
Hmm.
Another thing that I've had this like funny feeling about that I've never experienced before. I've never had any problem with the concept of rituals, right? It's like there are good rituals and there are bad rituals.
Hmm.
You could say Christmas is a ritual, Thanksgiving, just traditional American holidays are in and of themselves some kind of ritual. But when some of this kind of dark side comes out about what started a particular ritual, I don't know that I want to do that anymore. Like when we were talking about Valentine's Day, the ritual of, it's about love and flowers and candy, when it really comes out of some man who was put to death for wanting to see Christian people be married.
Hmm.
That's a very dark concept, but we spun it. And that's a lot of what this energy in Neptune, when we talk about illusion and delusion and fantasy, it's about spinning the
So
web.
can you tell me what the Easter Bunny's all about?
I know. I was just getting ready to go to Easter. I really was. I
Okay,
had it on
because
the
I
tip
want
of
to
my
know
mind.
what's up with the egg.
New beginnings. The eggs are all about spring and new
Are
beginnings.
you sure about that?
Well, in the world card, the egg is supposed to represent uh,
Mhm.
completion of life
Completions.
and the life
Uh-huh.
death life cycle of all things. Um, so here's another thing, and I don't want to be controversial here on your channel, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to be conservative, but there's just some really wild stuff that we can go down this rabbit hole here about stories in the Bible. And I consider myself Christian. I've read the Bible stories. I've wanted to believe all of them. But when some of this sort of dark stuff has been coming out, as corruption has been exposed, like through the Pope and governments controlling our money and um, whatever has been coming out, again, I don't have an opinion one way or the other.
Hmm.
I just want to get to the truth. And that's another thing about an Aries new moon and integrity, is we all just want our truth,
Hmm.
right? Um, so, you know, the New Testament was written by men.
Hmm.
Um, One of the things that we always talked about in astrology conferences, and I did workshops a lot. I don't know what that was.
That was a
Um,
glitch.
I'm sacrilege here, trying. Yeah, sorry. I'm trying to be good. Um, Astrology in the Bible. So they don't talk about reincarnation, which is the
Mhm.
connection with why astrology is considered bad in the Bible. Well, what if the Dead Sea Scrolls were part of the Old Testament and addressed reincarnation, but great kings removed parts that would give common folk, the serfs, the farmers, hope that they could come back in another life as a king? So what if that was a manipulation in society to keep the haves and the have-nots? What if?
Mhm.
I mean, that's all I'm saying, is these energies are all about questioning everything that you thought you knew or believed. Um, I'm having a difficult time with some of the trends of questioning. some of the trends in the astrological community right now are turning things on their head. The traditions and systems that I believe with all my heart, are being questioned.
Mhm.
And that's uncomfortable, right? It's uncomfortable. You don't want things that have made you feel secure or like you knew something to just be turned on their head. But those are the times we are in, is turning everything around, all these different angles. Um, Here's an example of so um, Sylvia Brown did some work on ancient secrets and mysteries of the world, and one of them was Easter Island. And Easter Island is, remotely out in the middle of the ocean. It's completely self-sufficient. Um, an old folklore was that um, they cut down all the trees on their island to get these huge statues they built from one side to the other. But when you really think about rationally, what tribe or society of people would do that?
Mhm.
So that was a story spun. Um, who benefited from that story being told? Uh, Me growing up about Easter Island, it was always considered kind of dark. Those statues, there was a theory that they were so huge that they actually, um, from one side of the earth to the other, could be shown. They were buried really deep and they could be um, all the way through the earth. There was is so now that's starting to be questioned. Because they went through a really horrible uh, purging, so to speak, from, and I don't know what disease it was, and it was decades ago, where through tourism, a good part of their population was wiped out, and they have rebuilt. They've done that Plutonian regeneration, and they're completely self-sufficient people. And through that has become like a rebirth of what's the truth about their island and what they used to do. And one of the more focus has been on a god they had, the bird man. And
Mhm.
there's a story about birds that roost off of the island, and the egg being taken to the chief of the tribe, and whoever got the egg to the chief first was um, the leader for the next year. It was some kind of competition like that.
Mhm.
But the whole thing about the regenerating and coming back from devastation was they represent hope. That you can come back from some kind of destruction.
Mhm.
Okay. And so, and coming from the hope was learning to honor your elders, which gets us back to history,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And Saturn teaching us our lessons. So I know I feel like I'm kind of all over the place here, but they do kind of connect the dots with these trends that we're in, that through history and what we've seen happen, um, connected to what we are going through now, we get to make some choices. Do we believe um, do we believe a certain segment has our best interest at heart, or do we follow our own intuition and question? And that, my thing and what I was writing about in the article this month is, question everything.
Mhm.
We're in a period of, you really don't know. You really don't know. And
Yeah,
it's
because a lot of times people, they're just following the media or whatever is being published on the news, and that's all they know is they're being spoon-fed information, and whatever is on TV or on publications is truth, but
Well,
are they fact checking?
here's a
You
really
know?
weird thing I ran into talking about Easter Island. This is really weird.
Okay.
So they had these huge statues, huge. It was believed at one time that, giants is what inspired these huge statues.
Mm-hmm.
And they had rounded bottoms, and they could roll them from one side of the island to the other so that you could see these huge statues going by. Okay, that's one of their rituals. That's in their society. That's honoring the elderly or their elders. Um, uh, so that's specific to their tribe.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
when I was stumbling on that, at the same time, on some sort of off channel, not mainstream news, truth seekers kind of information, whatever you want to call it, alternative news, let's call it that.
Mm-hmm.
This is crazy that I guess I'll keep them nameless. A great leader of another country is really deceased, but they have someone disguised as her, and they're like rolling her through town, like through the people. So this whole like rolling leaders and people as a ritual is just strange. It's
Mm-hmm.
just strange. And I would just question everything. I don't
So
believe
that
when
kind
I
of goes
see.
back to the you saying that some rituals are okay, but some of them we have to really question, like, where does it all come from? And
Yeah, like this whole sort of secret society and the haves and the have-nots, and really, I believe that universally, and if we're talking about other star systems and uh, other life forces, um, we are all created equal.
mhm,
It is not natural to have a society where you have a select group of families controlling the world's wealth, and then everybody else constantly staying in debt with no way out.
mhm.
Some sort of
So does it
contrived
mean
system.
through
I know that
history,
was
there's
crazy.
always no, no. I'm just saying, figuratively speaking, like there's always anarchy, right?
Right, right. And these energies that we are in, we have to look at history to see our future.
Mhm.
Um,
So we have to know that we're self-sustainable and that we're not
right.
really dependent on big tech, big governments, you know.
And we
But
regenerate.
mhm,
We regenerate.
yeah, especially doing with renewable resources and just doing sustainable living, doing our part wherever
Right.
that we're located. And a little bit goes a long way, and these are some new things but which are old that we could teach our younger generations
Mhm.
to kind of like get out of that progression of relying on technology and things like that, and getting down to like humanitarian type things, or being more humane. um
Well, that is hopefully where we've talked before about the slow shift of the Earth axis from that Mars warring kind of negative energy or masculine energy to the feminine, loving, nurturing energy.
mhm.
And we're on the Earth in a time when those vibrations are shifting polarities, and everything shook up. And we all handle being shook up differently, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Some people thrive on chaos.
Mhm.
They're good. Some
Mhm.
people get very unstable with any kind
I've
of
seen it so
chaos.
many times with military people. You know, they go to war, they have PTSD. Some of them, they're like, "Yeah, I'm great." Like, "Okay." But some of them, they come back and they're all effed up, like, and they can't sleep, they can't, function. And it's some
So,
kind of trauma, that they all
right.
suffer.
This
Mhm.
whole, I mean, the positive part of these energies is when we focus on that liquid light, when we
Mhm.
focus on the uh, ethereal and the ether and bringing the invisible to the physical manifestation.
Mhm.
One of the other technologies believed to be hidden since the Woodrow Wilson presidency has to do with these medical beds or med beds or
Mhm.
technology that heals the body
Mhm.
through electrical magnetic interaction with our own electrical system, right? It makes
Mhm.
sense. If we are electrical impulses in water, why wouldn't nature in our environment help and affect us to even out our chakras, our energy grids, that we've been manipulated for 50, 60 years into this big pharma medical tyranny kind of mentality.
Mhm.
And instead of letting the body use its own resources for natural healing. And we've gotten way, 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 way far away from that. But I am hoping that that's part of this bringing out the integrity and regeneration of um, how our medical system is. Um,
Well, I have to agree. I mean, just recently, my son got re-diagnosed for his autism, and he needed another evaluation because he's over 18 and they wouldn't accept his IEPs as proof that he still has autism. So he had to get another medical evaluation. And so the doctor, saw that he was clearly autistic, and so I asked him. I said, "Well, is there any kind of new sciences or anything to help people with autism?" And he mentioned the thing about diet. And so, back when autism was fairly young, there was talk of like eating gluten free, having a gluten free diet, which I did try at some point, and I at the time it just didn't seem like it took.
mhm.
So, but now, even after all of these years, my son is 19 years old. Um, Now, milk products are included into that. So, n and I'm really thinking about his daily diet.
Right.
He is eating gluten and milk every day, like, every day, like cheese products, milk, there's a lot of products that have milk in it that we don't know, chocolate,
Right.
everything under the sun has milk or gluten, and so that made me think that if I could just alter his diet, because I've been vegan and I've been training myself to be vegan for the past 5 years. So it's not like, cold turkey situation. I'm going to have to wean him off of the cheese. Cheese is like his favorite food. And I had no idea that that was giving him euphoria or, like like he'll go to town on some cheese, like, "Hey, buddy, you like cheese? Yay!" Like, and I
So,
had no idea that that was actually, reinforcing his autistic behavior. So, it was just something to really think about, you know?
is tofu a good alternative?
Yeah, he likes squash with the fake egg. I call it just egg, fake egg. product. Now, I believe he can eat eggs, so I can cook him certain foods, but yeah,
It's
tofu.
like making it appear like what he's used to, but
But
being
the thing is that he knows, like
right.
sausages. You can't fake a sausage for him. Like, no way. He just chicken. He knows what real chicken tastes like. If it don't come off a bone, it ain't real.
That's so hard. I'm so sorry you're going through that. That's really.
It's okay. It's just this
What
actually
about
just happened
what
recently.
about one of our chats we talked about these they're called med beds or med
Mhm.
pads. They can be made out of amethyst. They use, you know, I wonder if something like that would assist. I don't think that it's going to, I mean, it has to be a combination of therapies, I would think.
Mhm.
Um, but maybe something like that as well will help the transition of at least making better choices. Um, because it's all about acclimating ourselves. Um, I'm, I expressed this last time. I'm very like angry with the food industry and how it's been manipulating us for decades with growth hormones and crap that's not even real. And, it can say plant based and still have,
Stuff in it,
questionable crap
chemicals.
in it. Yeah.
Mhm.
And, it gets to a point where you just don't know, what to eat. Even apples and, things that you think are healthy and normal, the wax and crap that they, and if you're not scrubbing them and I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm just too hungry to,
To like sterilize your food before you eat
yeah,
it.
uh, but
Yeah, I
they,
do that with my fruits and vegetables. Like, I have vinegar, like a spray bottle,
yeah.
next to my sink, and, also I have, baking soda.
So, oh, right, right. That's
Yeah.
very good.
So
Yeah,
I just, every time when I get, fruits,
yeah.
I'll just wash it off, and then I'll put it in a tub and, just let it marinate.
That's really good.
Yeah, and then douse it with vinegar for the
You know,
finish.
it's also too, hopefully, as our energy shifts and the
Mhm.
environment shifts with us, um, hopefully on some sort of instinctual level, we'll just not want some of the things that maybe we've wanted in the past. Like your
Right.
energy gets more sensitive and you just don't want the sugar. You just don't want, you know, so I think that these energies will support um, some sort of recycling or reevaluation of our dietary habits and how they are connected with our moods and emotions. Um, just like you're experiencing with your son, you know, we all are what we eat. There's a lot of truth to that. And
Mhm.
if you are allergic to certain foods and eat them and then feel tired and um, lethargic, there's a connection there. And
Or it could be too much of something,
and
eating too much.
nervousness, so
Mhm.
Mercury is also conjunct this new moon, and Mercury is all about the nervous system and um, our mind working really fast, and with it being in fire Aries, this is all about your synapses in your brain are just firing and have all kinds of scattered ideas, and focus is harder. And so
Meditate.
yeah, yeah. It's really, I think getting your water, showers or baths, or if you can actually
Yeah,
get your
speaking
bodies
of,
of
like,
water.
like using water as a healing modality, that's why I've created these bath salts,
I love
to cleanse our auric field.
them.
Also, skin is our largest organ in our body, And so, when you incorporate like some of the essential oils and good, I call fatty acids or whatnot,
Yes.
just really nourishing your body and really detoxing and doing the proper cleanse is what we really need to protect ourselves these
And
days.
some of the simplest, most natural things are really, what will help us the most.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have to be something extravagant.
Right, right. These are just really interesting times, and we'll have, I'm sure, more to as we see things develop, um, more to try and piece the pieces together about, where are we going? What are we doing?
We're going on board the Star Trek
Enterprise. Beam
Enterprise.
me up, Scotty. Yeah.
Meet me in that
I think
hologram
about
world.
that a lot. I do. There's
Because
so many
essentially
strange
that's what
things.
we're manifesting, you
Yeah.
know?
There's so many strange things going on. It's we need to just keep our head about us, and um, diet and exercise and nutrition and sleep are just the basics that do help us feel better. And
Mhm.
you're going to have emotional waves, and don't deny them. Let it come. If you need to have a good cry, have a good cry. um, it's all it's I think it's all about just staying present with ourselves about how we're responding to things, because a lot, Mercury is disseminating a lot of information. I
Mhm.
think that's even going to get quicker. There's a lot of quickness to things coming out and us wanting to know the truth, or um, yeah, it's really interesting. But also that push me, pull me, it's like you want it quick, but then, there's some kind of restriction too. So it's the accelerator, the brake, the accelerator, the brake. And
So, with that, is that just with this new moon energy,
no,
or
this has been the energies with Saturn.
uh-huh.
And um, I just think that we're piling up all this energy in Pisces, which is so delusional, ethereal, fantastical,
So basically,
dreamy.
don't like make any kind of major decisions around this time. It's good to contemplate on it, but just really be realistic, do you think?
I
Like,
think the
how do you
word, yeah,
navigate
the word realistic hits it on the head, because Neptune will have you, you know, um,
going off course?
yeah, and really part of this, the Lilith Black Moon is also about, accepting things how they are.
Mhm.
Not trying to force things that, um, you know, Pisces and Neptune will want us to dream and fantasize, which that's all fun and good, but there's also a reality check too, you know,
Mhm.
and not to get yourself, your nervous system all keyed up or all jacked up because you're feeding into that
Dream.
unrealistic delusion. I'm
Mhm.
trying to think of a good example. Bottom line is like tuning into your own intuition to determine, whatever you're trying to figure out, um, whether to leave a job, whether to leave a relationship, whether to travel. Um, you know, that's another thing we've kind of been trained to look out to some other authority to tell us, you know, should we do this? Should we do that? These are all, and the whole shift in consciousness is to train us to rely on our own instincts,
Mm-hmm.
learn what they are. I've always told people this. It's what I was told. It's what I believe. You know, when you're trying to make a decision and you've got, you know, you're just waffling in your head. You just, well, you can talk yourself into it this way. You can talk yourself into it that way. And I'm confused and I don't know what to do. If you sit quietly and do some sort of calming of your energy and really ask yourself sincerely what the question is, because that's one of the issues is what are you really asking? You know, what,
Mm-hmm.
get clear on what is it? Is it a job that with some sort of change within the same job you could be content? Is it a change to totally leave something? But the first voice, like when you get calm and you're clear headed and you have figured out exactly what is it in your heart that you're trying to figure out, or what is the question, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, think about that, whatever the first voice is your instinct. And then there'll be all these other voices that follow that are self-doubt and questioning whether or not you're being intuitive. Um, these are really great energies for honing psychic ability, because Pisces is all about psychic ability. And also, let's not forget compassion,
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, Pisces is very, they show empathy for people to a fault almost. But
Mm-hmm.
these are the times we're in, like, you know,
Too much is no good.
right. And one of the things I struggle with is um, someone close with a completely diverse political opinion about something.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to judge them just because I disagree.
Right.
So digging down deeper to have compassion for from that person's experience and their history, that is how they feel. Nothing anybody says or does is going to affect that.
Mm-hmm.
Accept that. Get over it, you know, and have compassion or empathy that that person feels that way, and that's okay. Accept it the way it is. And that's a lot about this energy this month, is just that. You know, instead of struggling with somebody to try to convince them, well, you should do this or you should see it this way, it's about let people be where they are. Be compassionate for you haven't walked in their shoes. You don't know what their experience might have been that brought them to whatever conclusion and the decision that they made. And these are important lessons Saturn's trying to teach us, is
Mm-hmm.
don't judge your lover or your mother or your brother or your coworker. You
But see,
know,
that kind of draws a fine line, because that's going back to the whole transgender situation. It's like,
isn't
well,
it though? Yeah.
I mean, how much is acceptable? You know?
Well, I'll say something controversial right here. I've said it
Mhm.
before, but history shows that before the fall of every great society, there's no there's no designation between sexes.
Mhm. Mhm.
So the Roman Empire, when they collapsed, um, you know, it was, there was no definitive sexuality.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now, Mars, you know, is all about sexuality. You know, you could feel really fired up during these times. You could feel more amorous than normal. You could, you know, Mars is a very masculine energy. So
Mhm.
for women, um, it's about feeling your assertiveness. Or I have a neighbor who has been talking about some man that she works with and is interested in. And um, they flirt. And I always give her, well, when I see her, I will give her a hard time. Well, have you gone out with that guy yet? Oh no, well, I've let him know. It's up to him. And I'm like, you know, you're not getting any younger. It gets a point in your life where, are you going to still play the same games that you played when you were a teenager because you like somebody and you're afraid to be rejected or whatever it is? I mean, wouldn't you rather know and 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 not have that, here's Neptune, not have that delusion that you're holding on to a relationship that doesn't even exist with somebody because you're too afraid to talk about, do you want to go out? you know and
I
so
actually channeled that in one of my readings. I think, I don't remember, but it was this week. It was for a particular sign. So I think it was Aries. I can't remember. Yeah, I think it was Aries. So whoever the person was, okay, so they have it in their head. No, Scorpio. So Scorpio in the month of April has options, but one person, and it seems like it was an Aries energy. They're angry at the Scorpio because Scorpio wouldn't give Aries a chance, right? And basically Aries had it in their head that, no, you are mine, you can't move on. How could you move on? But there was no real conversation that happened. It was
that's very Neptunian. Yeah.
all in the head. And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
what the heck? I was like, what is this energy?
Well, Mars hopefully brings people into an assertiveness. That's about
Mhm.
the whole concept of what is worth fighting for.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, are you going to fight it in your head or are you going to speak your
yeah.
truth?
It's
It's
so
one thing
unfortunate.
when,
It's
you
so
know,
dysfunctional and unfortunate in our society, the way we bring up our kids, the way we were brought up. It's just dysfunction tenfold. And
mhm.
that's why it's like, it's difficult for me to admit or face the fact that, my mom came from so much dysfunction, and it's just not something I ever wanted to see or admit to. But it's directly related to my own dysfunction too.
Mhm.
So Aries is about children. It's connected, squaring the energy of Cancer, where you could be fighting yourself on matters relating to home and nurturance. It could be feeling a lack of nurturance from being a child. Um, Cancer has that hard shell and will often say no to things because of that shell. And
But
so,
really they mean yes, but
yeah,
they're so protective of themselves,
I
like,
know. It's
so
it's
which one is it? Damn
it's
it!
it's
Like,
dysfunction tenfold, right? It's maddening, right?
uh-huh.
So we're in some really interesting. I call it the cosmic jambalaya, and
Mhm.
I think we all need to just, to the best we can, get really honest with ourselves, be truthful with ourselves, no matter how difficult that might be. Take ownership for um, actions and decisions you've made. And, given another opportunity, maybe you would make different decisions or not. You don't know.
Mhm.
The
Yeah, which was
universe.
another thing I channeled. There was another sign that I did a reading for today, and it was like the has and has nots, could have, would have, should have, but never did. And it was because of their insecurity or, afraid of like rejection, because I think it was Gemini's reading. So Gemini had like a lover, right? And the lover was afraid to emote or express that they had deep feelings for Gemini. Gemini was looking for a partner in life. They wanted their other half, so to speak, but the person that they were dealing with, um, they were playing it safe. So now that Gemini has possibly made a decision about, okay, well, maybe we're just not compatible, or, making a choice on whatever the connection was. Now the person is hurt and they're facing like their shadows, like, what happened, this was a great relationship, and the person is actually going through things in their head. What could they have done? Should they have been more open? They were possibly afraid of expressing their truth, because one person would feel like if they were to express their truth, the other one would run away. So it was a lot of that energy going on today. So just
There's a lot
kind
of
of,
energy about figuring out what the truth is.
mm-hmm.
I mean, that is
Yeah,
in
and
so
I
many
think right now
levels.
it's kind of hard to tell until you just really sit still with yourself and know for sure. That's the feeling that I'm getting with that.
And the
I
other
don't know.
feeling that I get is that when I sit still and I feel like a truth about just socio-politically what's going on in the world,
Mm-hmm.
what I feel is the truth and don't question, I I don't have much support with my positions, right? It's the position of you're a conspiracy therapist and crazy, and none of that's true. But in my heart
Mm-hmm.
of hearts, there's just too much of history and
Well, it's not a conspiracy theory, okay? When it's actually showing up as truth, right?
right. But see,
So
these are delusions that people have a really hard time admitting that.
I think it's the programmed over
Right,
years of manipulation
right.
and just being too damn stubborn to really see past,
Prideful, right?
yes,
Too proud to
pride,
say, oh,
ego.
I was tricked, or oh, I can see that a different way.
Hmm. Yeah, I get it. A lot
And
of,
then, just this whole feeling of I feel so solid in certain things about what's going on in the world.
hmm
And, but yet I feel like I really can't say how I really feel
hmm
because it offends people, right? And I guess maybe part of this whole Piscean energy this month and the
well, say
compassion.
what you speak, because like it's a free for all now.
I know, I know.
you know, like you
It's
said what?
crazy.
Oh, okay, and pew, it went over somebody's head.
Hey, at this new office, right? Okay, I'm Southern,
Mhm,
I'm old fashioned,
mhm,
and I've been known to pass somebody in a hall and I can't think of their name, so I might just say, hey, sweetie, right?
mhm.
I don't mean anything at all uh,
Well, that's
overt
just like me
about
saying,
it.
"Hey, honey."
Yeah, honey, sweetie. Okay.
Okay.
Well, about a year ago, this young man bit my head off because I called him honey. Well, yeah, he said that offended him, right? And
Uh-huh.
I've been real sensitive about that ever since then. And the
Uh,
truth of the matter of that situation was he was being an ignorant asshole, excuse my French. And I was
right.
trying to be nice to him and say, well, look, honey, I'm telling it was about a, a, a real estate deal. Okay. And he was
Well, in the
being a complete
context when we said, "Well, look, honey," like,
he was being a complete jerk. And I was trying to be nice, and that's how I prefaced it. I was like, well, like, because he's young and inexperienced, and he didn't know what he was talking about. So I was like, okay,
Mm.
honey, let me tell you what we're gonna do here. Okay, so he bit my head off and said he didn't appreciate that being called that, blah blah blah. So ever since then, I've been trying to be more compassionate, more empathetic, to not offending anybody, even though nobody cares about whether or not they offend me. There
Right.
seems to be like this imbalance here, and so the other day, um, this one of these new people I'm working with, or whatever, they're coming down the steps, and I'm coming in. I was like, "Hey, sweetie," or "Bye, sweetie," or whatever. And then I got past. I was like, "Oh shit," I hope he didn't take that the wrong way. And it really needled my brain for like a day. And so at one point, he was talking to somebody else, and it just seemed like an opportunity. I said, I hope you didn't get offended, when I called you sweetie. I'm old fashioned. I'm from the South. I call
Mm.
everybody sweetie. And he looked at me really funny, and he was like, I didn't even notice you did that. And I said, oh, good, 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 good. Because, I've had young men bite my head off before, that it was offensive. And I told him, I was like, I'm from the days before political correctness.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
even me, like moving from the southeast going up to the northwest. I mean, I
yes,
still carry some of that stuff up here with me, and I call people honey and
yeah.
not so much
Well,
sweetie, but
all this sensitivity about everything being turned around and looked at every angle, right?
Mhm.
And that's the deconstruction of Pluto. And so
So that just reminds me that do we have to be sterile?
I don't know.
Do we have to, be on the straight and narrow and make sure that, we cross our like, dot our I's and cross our T's? Just
It's
to
a
make
real
everyone
double
happy.
standard. Yeah, there's just a real double standard out there, isn't
It's like,
there?
"No, you didn't cross your T." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
"That's not how you do that." And I'm like, "Okay."
Well, that's what I was talking about at first with we're going to see times when we're going to see things that we don't believe.
I think we already been there. Like, we've been in this, like, charade for how many years?
I'm talking about seeing aliens and UFOs out.
Oh.
You
I
know,
from what I know, they've already integrated with the human race, but if they're coming into, like, a form that is not similar to our humanoid, um,
right.
visual,
Part
then
human, part AI, you
oh,
know,
part
the whole,
AI?
yeah, um, the whole jab thing with manipulated DNA and interacting with,
So are they
it's just, it's just, it's science fiction. It really is like Neptune is science fiction.
Mm,
And,
I'm homegrown, girl. Like, I'm
yeah,
homegrown.
it's just there was one of the Star Trek movies where they're sitting in a bar and you got all these aliens and weird looking creatures everywhere and they're all just partying together and everything. And like, I think that's where we're going. We're going to be seeing lots of different species. And um, I've already started seeing it some. It's very disturbing. Um, so,
Yeah, that's what I was coming to like, going back to the pyramids, right?
right,
Obviously, it's like, the big, computer, so to speak, Earth computer, whatnot, but at that same time,
built by
from my
aliens.
knowledge, right, um, there was an intermixing of different species
Yeah,
even at that point, like, that's why
yeah,
you see half cat, half bird people, um,
Lizards.
lizards, all kinds of stuff. And it was
Supposedly, we
like,
all have some lizard DNA in
yeah,
us.
like survival of the fittest, like which one
Like,
actually, did
crazy.
well.
It's crazy. You know,
Monkey, like,
when I was putting this together, this exercise came to mind, and I know I shared it last year sometime, but it's coming up again, and you've you've opened the door to it.
okay.
So it's a Native American exercise on how parents taught their children to focus their mind. And for all practicalities, back in the day, would be to hunt or to survive, fish,
Mhm.
whatever. But anyway, in modern days, this is kind of how you would do it. So you're going to get in your bathroom with a candle lit, have very low lighting, and you're going to stare at your own reflection in a mirror. And your tendency is going to be to look away because it's hard to stare at your own eyes um, and keep focus, right? You just want to look away, right?
Mhm.
So it can take, 20 minutes to finally hold that focus. And when you do, you'll start seeing your electromagnetic energy field change. And
Mhm.
you will see a reflection of, and the Indians believe that what you see was who you were in your last lifetime, right? And so
Mm.
I did this with an old friend. This is a long time ago. And she saw a lizard headed person.
Mm.
Yeah. And
What
so
did you see? I forgot what you
I
said.
saw a big old fat Indian man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
might try that tonight, just to, like, not work,
But one of the things that's good about this energy, and I hope I imparted it and didn't just get all dark and creepy on you tonight, but
You're fine. I embrace that.
we have an opportunity to live metaphysically. We have
Mhm.
an opportunity to understand our connection to a greater universe,
Mhm.
drawing our energy back into our body, connecting to some greater quantum field in a more conscious effort. We go to sleep, our soul leaves our body, or we travel somehow. Um, into the future, some people say that's why we get deja vu. But this Piscean energy actually gives us almost a consciousness to the things that we are doing metaphysically. So when you do that exercise and you start seeing this fuzzy energy come over you, it it does something to you internally that makes you understand things are not as they appear. You're not just this, bag of bones and vessels and muscles walking around. There is a more magical, um, electric kinds of possibilities out there. So anything that we can do in diet, cleaning up our diet, regularly meditating, getting our rest, those are all the things that make our body more in tune to raise our vibration. And
Mhm.
so it's it's an opportunity to stretch your wings metaphysically. And I think that is what connects to tuning into your psychic ability to determine what is rose colored lenses and a delusion of Neptune and what is real,
Mhm.
because you also don't want to deny yourself the potentials of fulfilling your dreams. And, if you have, I know that I have a fantastical humanitarian project I'd love to have the money to do. I'd buy lottery tickets. Do I believe in my very essence that I'll ever win it? Probably not. But there's somewhere in us that we have to have the hope and the faith that we can connect to what we feel sets our soul on fire.
Mhm.
It's not just schlucking every day, cooking the meals, doing the job, that we all have a greater aspiration. And um, the more that we can kind of clean up our energy or focus our energy, I think is where we manifest physically, right?
That
So,
sounds like a good thing.
yeah,
Good
it
advice.
takes focus. It takes putting
You have to
energy
be
into it.
dedicated. You have to be focused. You have to be like aware,
Right,
self-aware, I
right.
think.
And an
Yeah.
awful lot of people, myself included, we get lazy, we get tired, or,
Don't
run.
wanna.
Yeah, just, it's just, my brain is oozing out of my ears. I just can't think another thing.
Mhm.
So, you know, we'll be challenged to focus into this energy, but then maybe if we could use it to tune into that psychic ability and refine that. And that's how it was always explained to me. Your psychic ability is your first voice. What comes to you? Whenever I do readings, it's like I never question what comes to me
Mhm.
because it's coming to me for a reason, and it usually doesn't make any sense to me that when I shared it with the person, it makes perfect sense to them. And
Right.
so we don't want to edit, because that's what we do is we get that instinct and then we start questioning it
Questioning.
and doubting it.
Mhm.
It's like, oh no, oh no. And it's like, oh yeah, oh yeah.
No, I mean, that's what I do when I do readings, when I channel. I give it however it comes out,
That's right. You have
And
to.
it's like, "Well,
And we
did this happen? I mean, do you have, like"
should, right.
because it's coming out, like
And we should apply that to our own, desires and goals for things.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, yeah. So interesting mixture of energies. And we're in history making times. So buckle up, Buttercup, and enjoy the ride.
Okay, sweetie.
Yeah. Okay, honey.
Yeah.
I was so relieved that when I said I've been working since way before political correctness, and everybody was like, "There's nobody politically correct in this office." I was like, "Oh, thank God for that," because
Mhm. Well, until a big boss lady comes back and she's like, "Excuse me?" I like, "Oh, did you not have enough rest, lady?" Like,
put your Pradas on.
I know, right? Mhm.
Right.
So,
Interesting times.
yeah, well, thank you for sharing that.
Thank
That was
you.
very interesting. Because I actually didn't know what to expect with because this energy that I was channeling for April in general, it was just kind of hard to like place. It was kind of like what you say, scattered, like jambalaya. You don't know what you're gonna get, so to speak. And you don't know how to pinpoint the energy, but it's something that you have to kind of like hone in, maybe take some time out for yourself, kind of.
So the square to Black Moon Lilith is all about embracing our dark side,
Mm,
and that's uncomfortable.
okay.
Fantastical Neptune, we want to be in fantasy. We want to be in
Mhm.
a dream state. We don't want to take ownership for dysfunctional behavior patterns.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's not me, no.
So
Uh,
that's where the masculine and feminine within each of ourselves are trying to battle it out. Right? We're
mhm.
trying to come to a reconciliation within ourselves of forgive yourself, don't be so hard on yourself,
Mhm.
and know that every day is a rebirth, and stop rehashing crap that happened 20 years ago or whatever,
Just work
just
on whatever's going on
the
now. I
present.
mean,
Right.
mhm.
Yeah. And we'll be presented with opportunities that are familiar. And I think that's, well, you know did I learn my lesson? you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the karmic lessons, dealing with karmic people, you know, same scenario, different players, different faces, you know.
It can be
And
very emotional, especially the relationship parts. If you get triggered by a song or something, um, in my new job, like within a first few days, I'm on the phone with the man who was the best friend of someone I was involved with 30 years ago. That was
mhm,
probably my first really big heartbreak from a relationship. And he's a surveyor, and I hadn't had any contact with him in many years, but it was a close enough contact to where for the next couple of days, I went down that memory lane,
mhm, mhm,
and, you know, memories and the sadness and why, and so it's interesting how we get presented with those patterns of behavior and energies to process some more, right? And
shadow work.
yeah, right. And you have to. Um, we didn't bring up Chiron, but Chiron is part of this new moon, and he's all about our core wounds.
Mhm,
Whatever it is that you get triggered by, and I think mostly in relations, personal, intimate relationships, this is the energy that's going to, you know, um, how that make you feel? How do you heal from being feeling that way? And would you do something differently? Would you have done things the same way? Or was it like you said, just karma? It was just someone you met, and whatever the pattern was, and you just accept it and don't make it something that it's not, and that
mhm,
was that was the lesson there for me, was don't let that sadness come back into my head. It is long, long water under the bridge, you
mhm,
know, and you know, people and things work out the way they're supposed to, and you just have to do the best you can to um, be sovereign within yourself. Know who you are, know what your truth is. Um, I just struggle with, it seems like I want to be more outspoken than's probably politically correct. And yeah, yeah, it's like, it's really weird, but that's what we're all trying to work out, is what our pattern is, you know, where are we trying to get to emotionally and spiritually. I think we all want to live in a um, solid kind of feeling within ourself, that we are content and fulfilled and at peace.
mhm.
And sometimes the things around us that manifest are not peaceful, or you struggle emotionally, and these definitely are very emotional waters. I mean, we're going to be dealing with crap from family, crap from relationships, even work relationships. Um, so I would just say connect with nature, connect with the metaphysics of our world.
Take a salt bath, guys.
Yes, yes, yes,
Pull out your crystals, charge them.
yes. I keep meaning I want to look into one of those amethyst bed things.
Yeah, I saw that. It was like a couple G's. I'm like, dang, them things are
They have different
expensive.
sizes. They have like a $600 or $700 model,
Oh, okay.
but I hope that that's part of this new age that we're going into. Of um, more natural healing, our bodies remembering how to heal itself, our food chain getting cleaned up. Mars is about agricultural. So hopefully we'll be seeing better improvement about our water supply and stop all this manipulation with growth hormones and pesticides and unnatural things.
Hmm.
So maybe we have to implode as a society to see all the things that haven't worked and how unhealthy we've been to order to get cleaned up.
That's a tall order.
It is a day to day. We just have to stay in the moment and do the best we can. And
That's why
I
there's so
think,
many light workers out here. Everybody has a unique gift. You know, it doesn't all have to be spiritual. I mean, these are real world type
right,
stuff.
right.
Like you could be a doctor, you could be a scientist, you could just
A
be a,
mechanic. I mean,
yeah, you could do anything. You could be a pilot, whatever the case is. Like there's so many jobs out there where people are needed to help or be positioned in those services to do your part.
right,
So everyone's calling, you know, you would know what your calling would be.
right.
Um, but it's like the I guess the assimilation and the connectiveness.
The chaos. When I sit here and feel frustrated that I don't really tell my friend what I think about their politics.
You
you
know,
know,
I get it, honey, because like a lot of my friends go one way and I should be going that way, but I'm not. But nowadays it's like, well, who cares which
yeah.
way you go? It's all the same. It's,
It's separated a lot of us,
well, that I think it was the agenda.
Yeah,
It was intended for those reasons. And really we all wanted one thing.
right.
You know what I mean? It's just like, but because of our manipulation and the historical training, I would say,
Yeah,
we're geared to be conditioned this way. But we can change, you
a little
know.
bit at a time and just remembering the truth, remembering our truth.
Yeah, that's why, you know, if we're incarnated souls, you know, we carry past lives into our present realities, and so we can go forwards, backwards, whatever, just as long as we're doing our part right now, you know.
Focus. Yeah,
But, you know, I get it. The 3D, you know, conscious reality is makes it really difficult for us, and at the end of the day, we're tired and, you know, we don't wanna.
yeah. Late degrees of Pluto and Capricorn. We're in burnout,
I know
and
I'm burnt out, honey. I'm like,
yeah, we're in burnout, and
uh,
I do think just reconnecting with some kind of magic in nature.
mm,
That whole energetic connection we can have. One of the ideas at Easter Island was a lot of the ways that they moved those huge statues had to do with energy and in ways that we have forgotten, just like in healing, Reiki and energy healing. We really have left behind a lot of modems that are far better than what.
basically with moving large objects, and I know, right? You can do this with the power of your mind. And if you have enough people who are
Right,
vibing in the same vibration and have the same focus,
which hopefully we are and
you can
do.
move that thing, you
Yeah.
know, but it takes concentration efforts, you know.
It
I
takes
did.
that waking up, right? I think we're in
Mhm.
that period of people like seeing the absurdity of enough things to finally question and not accept the BS, you know, to
I
just
did an
wake up.
experiment with a pinwheel. It was the kinetic movement of the
Yes.
pinwheel on a needle, and I had some girl. She was like, there's a string under there. I'm like, look, I said, how could you just, it was sitting on a needle and I was moving paper with my hand. I wasn't doing anything but using my meditative focus to move the object. And I
Right,
was able to do it with just a piece of paper.
right.
Now, I haven't gone as far as like, moving like, like this water bottle or something like that. But um, I know that with enough concentration and focus, it
This
can
is the
happen.
energy to do that kind of work.
Okay, well,
This is the energy to
I'm gonna
move.
go and look in the mirror and see how I was, and
Yeah,
then
you
I'm
have to
gonna
let me
see if I
know.
can move mountains.
I want to know.
Yeah, I have candles, like little baby candles, but I think I need a bigger candle. It might take some effort to.
It's a bizarre exercise.
I'll have to kind of like be a little semi-tired, be like, okay, what do I see?
Right, right. And
Hmm.
just remember, this was the exercise to help teach the mind to focus. And so, if if that's what we're trying to do, it gets easier. It's like, okay, don't look away, don't look away. I'm going to focus, focus, focus. Kind of like me trying to learn a new computer program.
Hmm.
Focus.
Yeah,
But I
I
don't
have
want to.
I have
It's
ADD.
uninteresting to me. It's like,
I can't focus. Like, I do have that issue. My mind wanders.
it's been tough. We're in
Hmm.
some, you know, cosmic jambalaya.
Okay. Well, is there any kind of like closing thoughts that you want to wrap up with today's?
Um, how about we pick a divine door?
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
We'll pick a divine door. Oh, golly, Ned. I'm sorry. There, divine doors. We'll pick a divine door based on what what is the divine door for this new moon in Aries, conjunct Chiron, squaring Lilith. And there's other stuff too, but it's overwhelming, so we won't go all in there.
Okay.
Okay,
Well,
here we
that's
go.
just basics.
So here, change beckons was the door. And I don't think this is going to show up all that great, but
Uh-huh, I see it.
so that's kind of a door in the shadow with a light coming through. And we started
Mhm.
out our whole talk with bringing the shadow to the light
Right.
and remembering that there is protons and plasma in liquid light, and that we are light energy. So I think that's probably the message, to connect to our own divine light within us, to
Mhm.
surround ourselves and protect us from um, negativity.
Sounds like a plan.
I think that's a good plan. I really like these. I rediscovered them after they've been put away forever.
No,
So
I
yeah,
really like those cards. I've seen other creators use those. So
yeah.
yeah.
So I think the summary of the message is to not be afraid to face our own darkness so that we can bring it to the light and transcend the energy, and remember we're connected. We're connected to a a
To
cosmic
source.
consciousness, yes, that is
Yeah.
shifting, right?
Yeah, and it takes everyone's effort, you know,
And
to
compassion.
yeah, raise our
Don't forget the
vibration.
passion.
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh, look, Shabaka, that's so funny. Our parents would be pissed. We are up past midnight. I love feeling so rebellious. I'm kind of I am wide awake. I mean, the energy is sort of energetic with the Mars squaring and all of that. So,
Well, good for
yeah.
you, honey. My energy is like poo poo. Like I'm
Well,
not gonna lie, I'm like in la
that's,
la land, like lee lee lee.
well, you've been working a lot harder than I have this week. I've had kind of an easy week.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I've yeah, I have a lot that's going on with me, but I'm maintaining.
Well, if I can do anything to help, you let me know.
No, you've done enough. This is wonderful. I love the chat for today.
Yeah. It's an interesting energy. And the whole month. I think the 16th, we have a full moon in Libra. So we're in the Aries Libra axis, which,
It's
maybe
gonna
we'll
bring
see some more
justice.
justice.
Yeah.
The scales balance. And everybody that
Hey,
thinks we're
isn't that
crazy,
tax day?
I don't know. Yeah,
April
I
15th
guess.
or something like that. And then also I think it was No More Lies. She mentioned that there's gonna be 2 new moons this
I
month.
know. That's kind of a phenomenon. There's a lot of, like things that haven't happened in 100 and some years, and things that aren't going to happen for another hundred. I mean, there's a
Another
lot of
lifetime.
historic cycles, right? So, yeah, we just need to uh, connect with our own magic inside. Remember our liquid light, and um, keep calm.
Keep calm and carry on.
Keep calm. Yeah.
Sounds like a plan. Well, thank you, Sunny, for
You,
being here with
Scorpio,
us
and thank
today.
your
Yes.
viewers. I appreciate the time and uh, participation. It's very very reassuring that we all can navigate some difficult energy and come out on the other end and laugh, have a good laugh.
Oh yeah, for sure. And if you guys would like to get your astral report done, you could go to lionmountainhealing.com and Sunny can do your chart. She actually did mine recently. And you're gonna look into my kids too,
I
which
am, yeah.
oh joy.
I've been meaning to do that a long time. I don't think I ever got, if I did get the birth information, I don't know what I did with it, and I apologize, but
Oh
I've got
no,
it
no,
now.
I never gave it to you until recently.
I've got it
Yeah,
now.
we've talked about it, but I never gave it to you. But it was because I wasn't really thinking of it. But
Well,
yeah,
maybe
I
we
mean,
can find some good insights that'll help you with what what they're going through.
yeah, yeah. Where's my older son? Is he going back to the East Coast or is he gonna stay here on the West Coast? Like, what's going on? He's gonna graduate college this summer, so um,
Options,
yeah,
young options.
options, but never really flew the coop.
Yeah,
He's a late bloomer, so he still has some growing pains, growing up.
emotional maturity.
Yeah, responsibility, things like that. And I'm really concerned. It's like
Well,
mama didn't teach you all of that stuff because of COVID and all this other crap that, we had to deal with. But, you know, and then with my younger son,
yeah,
I really hope that I can help him with his
you will.
autism.
You will.
And
I have no doubt.
I hope so
It's a
because,
journey for you both. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
there's
I
something
can't.
there.
Can't
Something there.
lie. I mean, my autistic son, he's cute, but he drives
Yes.
me crazy at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like, what? But he's so sweet. So, all right, honey, I'm gonna have to cut you off because I'm getting tired and I probably need some coffee or something.
Yes. Well, we'll reconnect soon, and let me know. We'll be talking soon, and I want to thank your viewers for their time and attention, and just hold on for the ride, and and stay calm.
Yes, yes, thank you. So, yes, thank you all who have attended. And again, if you'd like to book a reading with Sunny, go ahead and navigate to linemountainhealing.com. All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
Enjoy
And
your weekend.
yes, enjoy your new moon, guys.
All righty. Bye
All
now.
right. Bye bye. You're welcome, Shabaka.